Ethan Reynolds wasn't just any CEO. At 47, he was the founder of Reynolds Mart, a chain of convenience stores that had grown from a single shop into a nationwide franchise. He had built the business from the ground up, starting with a small neighborhood store where he personally stocked the shelves, worked the cash register, and built relationships with customers. Over the years, as the company expanded, Ethan found himself sitting behind a desk more than he liked. Numbers and reports filled his days, but he felt increasingly disconnected from the reality of what was happening in his stores. Were his employees happy? Did customers still feel the warmth that his first store had? He needed answers, and there was only one way to get them: by stepping into the world he had built, not as a CEO, but as an ordinary worker. One evening, Ethan made a decision that would change everything. He would go undercover in one of his stores. Not as a manager, not as a supervisor, just as a regular employee. He chose store number 14, one of the busiest locations in the city. It was known for its high customer traffic and impressive sales, but he wanted to see the experience beyond the spreadsheets. To avoid recognition, he grew out a scruffy beard, put on a worn-out hoodie, a baseball cap, and an old pair of jeans. His new identity? Mike Carter, a temporary worker assigned to help with stocking and cleaning. The next morning, Ethan walked into the store as Mike. The smell of fresh coffee and the faint hum of customers chatting filled the air. Shelves were lined with snacks, drinks, and essentials, and employees bustled around, stocking items and assisting shoppers. The store manager, Greg, greeted him with a firm handshake. "You're the new guy from headquarters?" Greg asked, looking over Ethan's appearance with slight skepticism. "Yeah," Ethan replied with a casual shrug. "Just here to help out for a few days." Greg assigned him to shelf-stocking duty near the front of the store, which gave Ethan the perfect opportunity to observe the store's operations. As he worked, he noticed a young cashier named Jake. The kid had an infectious energy, greeting every customer with a warm smile and genuine conversation. "Hey, Mrs. Parker, how's your granddaughter?" he asked an elderly woman. "Oh, Jake, she just started kindergarten." "Can you believe it?" she replied, beaming. Ethan watched as Jake continued to engage with customers as if they were longtime friends. It wasn't just polite small talk, it was genuine care. But then, something caught his attention. An elderly man in a worn-out jacket stepped up to the register with a loaf of bread and a small carton of milk. Jake rang up the total, but then, with a quick glance at the man's tired eyes, he did something unexpected. "Don't worry about it today, Mr. Thompson," Jake said quietly, swiping his own card to pay for the items. Mr. Thompson hesitated. "Jake, I can't keep letting you do this. You'll get in trouble." Jake simply smiled. "It's fine. I got you." Ethan stood frozen. Did his employee just pay for a customer's groceries? Out of his own pocket? Over the next few hours, Ethan kept an eye on Jake. It wasn't just a one-time act of kindness. He saw him quietly slip a granola bar into a single mother's bag without charging her. He noticed him rounding down totals when he saw someone struggling to count change. Later that evening, Ethan approached Jake in the break room. "Hey, man," he said casually. "I saw what you did earlier. Covering for customers like that. Why do you do it?" Jake leaned back against the lockers, running a hand through his messy brown hair. "Some of these folks are barely getting by," he said. "Mr. Thompson lost his wife last year, and his Social Security barely covers rent. There's this single dad who comes in with his kids. Sometimes they put stuff back because they can't afford it. I just help when I can." Ethan felt a lump in his throat. Here was a young man, probably earning close to minimum wage, yet giving what little he had to others. He wanted to ask more but decided to let it sit for now. The next day, Ethan arrived early again. This time, he made conversation with an older employee named Bill, who worked in the stockroom. "Jake's a good kid," Bill said, shaking his head. "He's been through a lot, though. Lost his dad when he was a teenager. He's been working jobs ever since to take care of his younger brother. Barely takes a day off, even when he's sick." Ethan felt his heart sink. Jake had been carrying this weight alone, yet he was still giving to others without hesitation. By the third day, Ethan knew it was time. That evening, after closing, he gathered the entire team in the break room. Standing at the front, he removed his cap and hoodie. "Hi, everyone," he began, his real voice breaking through. "My name is Ethan Reynolds. I'm not a temp worker. I'm the CEO of Reynolds Mart." The room went dead silent. Jake's eyes widened. "No way," he muttered. "I came here undercover because I wanted to see how things really work in my stores," Ethan continued. "And what I've seen has been eye-opening." He turned to Jake. "Jake, you've inspired me. You care about people in a way that money can't buy. And I want you to know, it hasn't gone unnoticed." Ethan took a deep breath and continued. "Starting today, I'm promoting you to assistant manager. You deserve it. And there's more, your younger brother's education? Consider it covered. Reynolds Mart will pay for it. And on top of that, I'm setting up an emergency fund for employees who need help because no one should have to struggle alone." Jake was speechless. His hands trembled slightly, and his eyes glistened with tears. I don't know what to say," he whispered. Ethan smiled. "Just keep being you, Jake." From that day forward, everything changed. Employees felt valued. Customers noticed the warmth. And Ethan? He made it a point to visit his stores personally, not as a CEO, but as a man who understood the real heart of his business, the people. Because sometimes, one undercover visit isn't just about checking up on a business. It's about discovering the kind of people who make a business truly great. And in this case, it all started with a simple act of kindness from a cashier who gave when he had nothing to spare. As Ethan stood there, watching his team, he realized that the real success of Reynolds Mart wasn't in the sales or the numbers, it was in the people. The kindness, the dedication, and the care they showed for one another and for their customers made all the difference. What started as a simple undercover visit turned into a life-changing experience, not just for Jake, but for the entire team. It reminded Ethan that sometimes, the best way to lead is by truly understanding and appreciating the hearts behind the work. From that day forward, Reynolds Mart became not just a business, but a community, a place where kindness and leadership walked hand in hand.